The jungle was alive with gunfire and death. 12 Navy SEALs were trapped in a dried riverbed, pinned down by 40 enemy fighters who had them surrounded on 3 sides. The 4th side was a sheer cliff. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, just a killing ground where America's elite warriors were about to be wiped out. Staff. Sergeant Nan Parker watched through her rifle scope from a concealed position 800 meters away. Elevated in the dense jungle canopy, she had been tracking these enemy fighters for 2 days, watching them set up ambush positions, waiting for American forces to walk into their trap, and now the trap had been sprung. Through her scope, she saw SEAL operators taking cover behind rocks and fallen trees, returning fire against impossible odds. She saw muzzle flashes from 40 different positions in the jungle, machine guns and rifles firing in coordinated volleys that were chewing up the SEAL's defensive position. She saw 2 SEALs already down, dragged into cover by their teammates. The radio transmission crackled through her headset. Any station, any station. This is Neptune 1. We are pinned. Enemy force 40 plus. We have wounded. Request immediate. Quick reaction force and air support. Command responded with the answer she knew was coming. Neptune 1, QRF is inbound. ETA 30 minutes. Air support unavailable due to weather. Hold your position. 30 minutes. Nan could see the enemy massing for a final assault. The SEALs had maybe 5 minutes before they were overrun. She looked at her. Barrett M82A 150 caliber sniper rifle. 20 rounds loaded, 1 already chambered. The jungle around her was so thick that nobody could see her position. Hidden in a natural platform 60 feet up in a massive tree, she was invisible, silent, deadly. Her orders were clear. Observe enemy movements, gather intelligence, do not engage unless directly threatened. Her mission was reconnaissance, not combat support. But 12 Americans were about to die because she was following orders. Nan keyed her radio to the SEAL frequency. Neptune 1, this is Reaper 6. I have elevated position 800 meters northwest of your location. I count 40 enemy combatants in 14 distinct positions. I have clear sight lines on their machine gun nests and assault elements. Give me authorization to engage and I'll start dropping them. There was a pause, gunfire in the background, shouting, the chaos of a unit fighting for survival. Then came the response. Reaper 6, Neptune 1 actual. Who are you and how did you get this frequency? I'm an Army sniper who's been watching this jungle for 2 days and knows every enemy position. I've got a 50 cal and 20 rounds. You've got about 4 minutes before they overrun you. Do you want my help or not? Reaper 6, you are authorized to engage. Priority targets are the machine guns. Roger, watch the machine gun at your 2 o'clock, 300 meters out. He's about to have a bad day. Nan settled into her rifle. The Barrett's massive scope brought the jungle into sharp focus. She could see the enemy machine gunner clearly, firing sustained bursts, his position protected by sandbags and jungle cover. She controlled her breathing, found her natural pause, placed her crosshairs on his chest, and squeezed the trigger. The 50 caliber rifle roared even with the suppressor. The recoil was massive. Through her scope, she watched the bullet travel 800 meters through jungle air and strike the gunner center mass. The kinetic energy of a 50 cal round was devastating. The gunner didn't just die, he was torn apart. The machine gun position went silent, covered in blood and fragments. 1 down, 19 rounds left, 39 enemies to go. Nan worked the bolt on her Barrett, chambering a fresh round. The jungle erupted with confused shouts. The enemy fighters heard the shot but couldn't locate her position. They were scanning the wrong direction, looking at ground level when she was 60 feet up in a tree 800 meters away. She shifted her aim to the second machine gun position. This gunner was firing at the SEALs from behind a fallen log, his weapon mounted on the wood for stability. Through her scope, Nan could see his head and shoulders clearly. She fired. The 50 caliber round hit him in the upper chest, and he simply ceased to exist. The machine gun tipped sideways, its operator gone. 2 down, 18 rounds left. Neptune 1, Reaper 6. 2 machine guns neutralized, engaging assault elements now. Roger, Reaper 6, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Our fire pressure just dropped by half. Nan scanned the jungle through her scope, identifying targets. The enemy assault element was preparing to rush the SEAL position. 15 fighters were moving into final positions before the charge. They were using the jungle cover well, staying low, maintaining dispersion, but she had elevation advantage. What looked like good cover from ground level was completely exposed from her position 60 feet up. She could see them clearly through gaps in the canopy. She engaged the assault. Leader first, the fighter who was gesturing to others, coordinating the attack. Range 847 meters. He was moving between trees, but Nan tracked him patiently. When he paused to signal his fighters, she had a 2-second window. She took it. The shot was perfect. The assault leader dropped. The fighters around him froze, confusion spreading through their ranks. Their leader just died, and they didn't see or hear the shot that killed him. Nan didn't give them time to think. She engaged the next fighter, 823 meters, partially concealed behind a tree trunk. She could see his torso through a gap in the vegetation. She fired. He fell. Work the bolt. Chamber new round. Acquire next target. Fire. Target drops. She was in a rhythm now, the practice sequence of a professional sniper operating at peak efficiency. Breathe, aim, fire, repeat. 5 down, 15 rounds left, 35 enemies remaining. The enemy fighters were starting to panic. They were taking fire from a source they couldn't identify. Some were shooting blindly into the jungle. Some were trying to find cover. All were confused and demoralized. And shifted to the 3rd machine gun position, 698 meters, elevated on a small hill. The gunner was still firing at the SEALs, unaware that 2 of his fellow machine gunners were already dead. She placed her crosshairs on him and fired. The 50 caliber round traveled the distance in just over a second and struck with devastating force. The 3rd machine gun went silent. Neptune 1, Reaper 6, all 3 machine guns are down. Your suppression is gone. Recommend you prepare to displace when I create an opening. Roger, Reaper 6, we're ready to move on your signal. Non-focused on the enemy fighters, who were positioned to block the SEAL's withdrawal route. There were 8 of them spread across a 100-meter line using trees and rocks for cover. They were the cork in the bottle. If she could eliminate them, the SEALs could break out. She engaged them systematically, working from left to right across the line. First fighter, 734 meters behind a boulder. She could see his head and shoulders. 1 shot, target down. Second fighter, 756 meters, pressed against a tree trunk. She waited for him to lean out, then fired. Target eliminated. Third fighter, 712 meters in a prone position. Difficult shot through heavy vegetation, but she could see enough of him. She fired. Target hit. The remaining 5 fighters on the line realized they were being picked off and tried to withdraw, but movement made them easier targets. Fourth fighter, running at 789 meters. Nan led his movement and fired. He went down mid-stride. Fifth fighter, 801 meters, trying to low crawl to better cover. The movement caught her eye. She fired. Target stopped moving. Sixth fighter, 723 meters, firing his rifle blindly toward what he thought was her position. He was wrong by about 40 degrees. Nan corrected his mistake permanently. Seventh fighter, 834 meters, the farthest of this group. He was trying to organize a withdrawal, gathering fighters around him. Another leadership target. Nan dropped him. Eighth fighter, 698 meters, frozen in fear behind a tree. He wasn't shooting, not moving, just hiding. Nayan gave him a permanent hiding place. 13 down, 7 rounds left, 27 enemies remaining. Neptune 1, Reaper 6, your withdrawal route is clear. I count 27 enemy remaining, but they're disorganized and withdrawing. Move now while you have the opening. Roger, Reaper 6, we're moving. Through her scope, Nan watched the SEAL team begin their tactical withdrawal. They were carrying their 2 wounded, moving in coordinated bounds, maintaining security. Professional infantry movement, even under extreme stress, but the enemy wasn't finished. A group of 10 fighters was trying to flank the SEAL's withdrawal route, moving fast through the jungle to cut them off. Nan saw them and shifted her aim. These fighters were moving quickly through thick vegetation, difficult targets. She had to stop them before they reached an intercept position. First flanker, 812 meters, moving fast between trees. She fired ahead of his movement and he ran directly into the bullet, target down. Second flanker, 789 meters, pausing to check his position. Fatal mistake, Nan shot him during the pause. Third flanker, 756 meters, also pausing, another mistake. Another body falling. The remaining 7 flankers realized they were being engaged and scattered. Some tried to find cover. Some tried to continue the flanking movement. Some just ran. Nan engaged them as targets of opportunity presented themselves. Fourth flanker, 823 meters behind inadequate cover. The 50 cal punched through his cover and threw him. Fifth flanker, 867 meters. Running through a clearing, she led him and fired. Target drops. Sixth flanker, 791 meters, firing back toward her general direction but not her actual position. She ended his confusion. Seventh flanker, 734 meters, trying to low crawl away. The movement made him visible. Nan fired, movement stopped. 20 down, 0 rounds left in her rifle, but she wasn't done. Nan had 2 more weapons with her. A M110 semi-automatic sniper rifle chambered in 7.62 millimeter, and her M4 carbine for close defense. She set the Barrett aside and picked up the M110, Neptune 1. Reaper 6, I've eliminated 20 enemy combatants, including all 3 machine guns and both flanking elements. Remaining enemy forces are withdrawing. What's your status? Reaper 6, Neptune 1, we're mobile with wounded, moving to extraction point. We owe you our lives. Can we coordinate extraction for you? Negative, Neptune 1, I'm mission-focused. Here, but I'm tracking 7 remaining enemy fighters who are trying to regroup. I'm going to make sure they don't follow you. Roger, Reaper 6. You are clear to engage. The 7 remaining enemy fighters had regrouped about 900 meters from Nan's position. They were trying to organize some kind of pursuit or at least maintain observation on the withdrawing. SEALs. Nan switched to her M110. It was a less powerful weapon than the Barrett, but it was semi-automatic, faster to fire, and perfect for the ranges she was now dealing with. She settled into a new firing position in her tree and began engaging the regrouped fighters. First shot, 887 meters center mass on the apparent leader. The 7.62 millimeter round hit, target down. Second shot, 901 meters. Fighter turning to see where the shot came from. He never completed the turn. Target down, the remaining 5 fighters scattered. They were running. Now, abandoning any thought of pursuit, just trying to escape the invisible death that had been decimating their force. Third shot, 856 meters running target. Nan led the movement and fired. Target drops. Fourth shot, 823 meters. Fighter trying to return fire. His shots were going nowhere near her position. She ended his attempt. Fifth shot, 912 meters. Fighter running through thick vegetation. Difficult shot through jungle cover, but Nan could see enough of him. She fired. Movement stops. Sixth shot, 867 meters. Fighter diving behind a tree. She waited patiently. He had to show himself eventually to move. When he did, she was ready. Target down. Seventh shot, 934 meters. The final fighter. He was running flat out, abandoning everything, just trying to survive. Nan tracked him through her scope, led his movement, and fired. At 934 meters through dense jungle, the bullet found its mark. The final enemy fighter fell. 27 down, 13 rounds remaining in the M110, 0 enemies still combat effective. Neptune 1. Reaper 6, all enemy forces neutralized or withdrawn. I count 27 enemy killed in action. You're clear to extraction. Safe travels. Reaper 6, Neptune 1 actual, I don't have words. You saved 12 lives today. We'll never forget this. When we get back, I'm finding out who you are and buying you whatever you want. Just get your people home safe. That's all I need. Reaper 6 is going dark and remained in her elevated position for another 30 minutes, watching to make sure. No enemy forces returned. The jungle around her was silent now, except for natural sounds. Birds returning to their normal behavior, insects resuming their noise. The firefight that killed 27 enemy fighters was over. She began breaking down her position, carefully packing her equipment. The Barrett went into its case. The M110 got slung across her back. She checked her climbing gear, ensured her descent route was clear, and began the careful climb down from her position 60 feet up. The jungle floor felt different after spending hours elevated above it. She moved carefully through the vegetation, avoiding the kill zone where bodies lay scattered across several hundred meters of jungle. She wasn't here to confirm kills or collect intelligence. She was here to disappear as she moved through the dense jungle toward her extraction point 3 kilometers away. She reflected on what just happened. 27 enemy fighters dead, 12 SEALs alive. All because she made the decision to violate her orders and engage. But something unexpected happened. As she was moving through the jungle, her radio crackled with a transmission on the SEAL. Frequency, Reaper 6, Neptune 1, we've got a problem. Enemy reinforcements are moving toward our extraction point. We count approximately 15 fighters, and they're going to reach the landing zone before we do. We're still 20 minutes out with wounded. Can you assist? Nan checked her position. She was actually closer to the extraction point than the SEALs were. About 12 minutes away at her current pace, and she still had 13 rounds in her. M110 and full magazines for Neptune 1. Reaper 6, I'm closer to the extraction point than you are. Give me 10 minutes and I'll secure it before you arrive. Reaper 6, you're one person against 15 enemy fighters. I'm one person with elevation advantage, surprise, and better weapons. I'll take those odds. Just get your people there. I'll make sure it's clear when you arrive. Nan changed direction and moved toward the extraction point at increased speed. She was covering rough jungle terrain, but she knew this area. She had been operating here for days and had routes mapped in her mind. 8 minutes later, she reached a position overlooking the extraction point, a small clearing where helicopters could land, and she could see the enemy fighters moving into ambush positions around it. They were setting up exactly the kind of trap the SEALs were walking into. 15 fighters spread across a 100-meter perimeter around the clearing. Machine gun position on the north side, riflemen scattered in covered positions. They were expecting the Americans, ready to open fire the moment helicopters appeared. Nan climbed a tree on the south side of the clearing, establishing a new elevated position about 40 feet up. From here, she had clear angles on most of the enemy positions. She set up her M110, checked her sight picture, and began engaging. The enemy fighters had no idea she was there. They were focused on the clearing, watching for helicopters, not looking for a threat behind them. First shot, machine gunner, 456 meters. He was sitting behind his weapon, scanning the sky. Nan put a 7.62 millimeter round through his chest. Machine gun silenced. Second shot, fighter on the north perimeter, 389 meters. He was in a prone position, rifle aimed at the clearing, target down. Third shot, fighter on the east perimeter, 412 meters. Target eliminated. The trees behind them. Nan continued her systematic elimination. She was firing methodically, picking targets based on threat level and position. Every shot was deliberate, precise, final. Fourth shot, 445 meters. Fighter. Trying to locate her, target down. Fifth shot, 398 meters. Fighter running for better cover. Target drops mid-run. Sixth shot, 478 meters. Fighter returning fire toward the wrong location. Nan corrected his aim permanently. Seventh shot, 423 meters. Fighter trying to organize the others. Leadership target eliminated. The remaining 8 fighters were panicking now. Half their force had been killed in under 2 minutes by an enemy they couldn't see. Some were trying to withdraw. Some were trying to fight. All were vulnerable. 8th shot, 467 meters, withdrawing fighter. Target down. 9th shot, 391 meters. Fighter taking cover behind a tree. She waited for him to lean out. When he did, target eliminated. 10th shot, 434 meters. Fighter firing blindly into the jungle, target silenced. 11th shot, 456 meters. Fighter running, Nan led the movement. Target drops. 12th shot, 489 meters. Fighter trying to drag a wounded comrade. Both went down from one shot that passed through the first and into the second. 4 fighters left. They were running now, abandoning the ambush. Abandoning their wounded, just trying to escape. 13th shot, 501 meters, running fighter. Target falls. 14th shot, 478 meters. Another runner, target eliminated. 2 fighters left. Both running hard through the jungle. Nan switched to her M4 carbine. Faster target acquisition for moving targets at medium range. She dropped down from her tree position, landed smoothly, and moved toward the extraction clearing. As she reached the tree line, she spotted the 2 remaining fighters trying to circle back toward friendly territory. She engaged with her M4, 3-round burst at the first fighter, 180 meters out. He went down. 3-round burst at the second fighter, 165 meters. Target eliminated. 15 enemy fighters dead. Extraction point. Secured. Neptune 1, Reaper 6, extraction point is secure. I count 15 enemy killed in action. Your landing zone is clear. Helicopters can approach safely. Reaper 6, Neptune 1, we're 2 minutes from your position. And I'm beginning to think you're not actually human. Just well-trained, Neptune 1, and properly motivated. Nan moved to the edge of the clearing and established a security position, scanning for any additional threats. The jungle around her was quiet. 42 enemy fighters dead in less than an hour of engagement. It was the kind of casualty rate that breaks enemy forces psychologically as much as physically. 2 minutes later, the SEAL team emerged from the jungle carrying their wounded. They were moving tactically, weapons ready, but visibly exhausted. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, the SEAL team leader, spotted Nan at the tree line and moved toward her. He was muddy, bloody, exhausted, but alive. Reaper 6, I presume. Staff Sergeant Nan Parker, Army Sniper. And before you say anything, yes, I know I violated my orders by engaging. I was going to say thank you for saving my entire team twice. First, you pulled us out of that ambush. Then you secured our extraction. That's 42 enemy fighters you've killed today. I count 43, actually, but who's keeping track? Morrison stared at her, processing this. 43? Jesus Christ, how's that even possible? Elevation advantage, superior weapons, better training, and the element of surprise. Plus, they made tactical mistakes, and I capitalized on everyone. The sound of helicopter rotors grew louder as the extraction birds approached. Morrison keyed his radio to guide them in. As the helicopters descended into the clearing, something unexpected happened. 3 Navy SEALs, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, Petty Officer Derek Hansen, and Petty Officer Kyle Martinez, approached Nan's position and took up security positions around her. "What are you doing?" Nan asked. Webb grinned through his exhausted face, "Making sure nobody shoots the person who saved our lives. You watched our backs all through that fight. Now we're watching yours until we all get on that helicopter." "I don't need," Nan started. "With respect, Staff Sergeant, we're doing this. You saved 12 of us. We're not leaving you standing alone at the tree line while we extract. You're coming with us, and we're providing security while you do," Hansen added. "Besides, you just killed 43 enemy fighters. The least we can do is make sure number 44 doesn't sneak up on you while you're watching us board helicopters." Martinez scanned the jungle with his rifle. "We've got 360-degree security on you, Staff Sergeant. You just keep doing what you're doing and we'll make sure nothing interrupts." Nan felt an unexpected emotion. Gratitude, respect, camaraderie. These SEALs she saved were now protecting her, closing the circle of mutual support that defines elite units. The helicopters landed. The wounded SEALs were loaded first, then the rest of the team boarded. Webb, Hansen, and Martinez maintained security around Nan until the last moment. "Your turn," Staff Sergeant Webb said. "We're all going home together. I've got my own extraction plan." "Negative," Morrison said, appearing beside them. "You're coming with us. I'm not leaving you in this jungle after what you did. Besides, Command is going to want to debrief you. And the easiest way to make that happen is to bring you with us." Nan realized she didn't actually have a good argument against this. She boarded the helicopter and Webb, Hansen, and Martinez were the last three to climb aboard, maintaining security until the moment the helicopter lifted off. As they gained altitude, Nan looked down at the jungle below. The clearing where she eliminated 15 fighters. The kill zone where she eliminated 27 more. The ambush site where she saved 12 lives. 43 enemy fighters dead. 0 American casualties beyond the 2 wounded in the initial ambush, both of whom were going to survive. It was the kind of engagement that would be studied in sniper schools for years to come. 1 person, 43 targets, elevation advantage, and perfect precision. But for Nan, it was simpler than that. She saw Americans who needed help, and she helped them. Everything else was just details. Morrison sat down next to her in the helicopter. "When we get back, I'm writing the most detailed commendation report of my career. What you did today, saving us from that initial ambush, eliminating 43 enemy fighters, securing our extraction. That's beyond anything I've seen in 15 years of special operations. I just did what needed doing, sir." "No, you did what maybe 10 people in the world could do. You operated alone in hostile territory, engaged numerically superior forces, and achieved complete victory with 0 friendly casualties. That's not just skill. That's exceptional." One of the wounded SEALs, Petty Officer First Class Ryan Cooper, with shrapnel wounds in his leg and arm, leaned over from his stretcher. "Ma'am, I want you to know something. When we got hit in that ambush, I thought I was dead. I was lying there bleeding, listening to 40 guns firing at us, thinking this was it. And then their machine guns just stopped. Then their assault element stopped. Then everything stopped. We didn't know what was happening until later. 1 Army sniper had eliminated 27 hostiles and broken their entire attack. I'm glad. You made it, Petty Officer, because of you. We're all here because of you." The helicopter flight back to base took 40 minutes. During that time, the SEALs treated Nan like one of their own, sharing water, sharing stories, making jokes to relieve the tension of what they'd been through. Webb, Hansen, and Martinez stayed close, maintaining what they called personal security, but what really meant they'd adopted her as part of their team. When they landed at the forward operating base, something remarkable happened. The entire SEAL platoon was waiting on the tarmac. As Nan stepped off the helicopter, they formed 2 lines leading away from the aircraft. Morrison guided her between the lines, and every SEAL she passed nodded in respect. A silent acknowledgement from some of America's most elite warriors to the sniper who saved their teammates. At the end of the line stood Captain Sarah Chun, commander of all Special Operations Forces in the sector. She waited for Nan to approach. "Staff Sergeant Parker, I've been receiving radio reports about your actions for the past hour. 43. Enemy fighters eliminated, 12 SEALs saved, extraction point secured. Is this accurate?" "Yes, ma'am. Though I should note that I violated my rules of engagement. My orders were to observe only, not engage unless directly threatened. I'm aware. I'm also aware that if you'd followed those orders, I'd be writing 12 death notifications instead of standing here talking to you. Your orders have been retroactively modified to include defensive support of friendly forces. The engagement is considered justified. Thank you, ma'am." "Don't thank me. Thank Lieutenant Commander Morrison. He's already filed a recommendation for the Silver Star. I'm endorsing it. What you did today, operating alone against numerically superior forces, achieving complete tactical victory, Saving American lives, that's the definition of valor. The debriefing took 6 hours. Nan walked command through every decision, every shot, every moment of the engagement. Intelligence officers documented every detail about enemy positions, tactics, and casualties. Medical personnel checked her for injuries. None found beyond minor scratches from climbing trees. When it was finally over and she was dismissed to get some rest, she found Morrison and his SEAL team waiting outside the debriefing room. "We wanted to say thank you properly," Morrison said. "Not just from me, but from everyone. You saved our lives. That's a debt we can never repay, but we want you to know it's acknowledged. If you ever need anything at all, you call us." "SEALs take care of their own, and you're one of us now," Webb added. "We've also been talking, and we want to request you as primary sniper support for all our operations in this sector. We've worked with a lot of snipers over the years, but what you did today was beyond anything we've seen. We want you on our team." Hansen grinned. "Besides, after you killed 43 enemy fighters in one engagement, the enemy is going to be terrified of this sector. That psychological advantage alone is worth its weight in gold." Martinez added, "We're calling you the Ghost, by the way. 43 enemies killed, and not one of them ever saw you. You were invisible, untouchable, unstoppable. That's Ghost-level operator right there." Nan felt emotion catching in her throat. These warriors, some of the best in the world, were treating her as an equal, as one of their own. "I'd be honored to work with you again." "Then it's settled," Morrison sighed. "We'll put in the official request tomorrow, but tonight you need to rest. You've earned it." As the SEALs dispersed to their own quarters, Webb, Hansen, and Martinez walked with Nan to her assigned quarters, still maintaining the protective security they established at the extraction point. "You know, you don't have to escort me to my quarters, right?" Nan said with a slight smile. "We know," Webb replied. "But we made a promise to protect the person who saved our lives. That promise doesn't expire just because we're back on base." They delivered her safely to her quarters, checked the area for security, and only then did they leave, after making sure she had their radio frequencies and contact information. Nan lay down on the cot in her quarters, exhausted but unable to sleep. She thought about the day. 43 shots fired, 43 enemy fighters dead, 12 American lives saved. It was the kind of day that defines a career, the kind of engagement that gets studied and analyzed and remembered. But for her, it was simpler. She saw Americans who needed help, and she helped them. She violated her orders to observe only, choosing instead to save lives. And she'd make the same choice again without hesitation. The most important shot isn't the one that hits the target. It's the one you're willing to take when lives depend on it. Today, she took 43 of those shots. And 43 times, she made the choice to save American lives over following orders. Tomorrow, there would be meetings, briefings, maybe even some disciplinary discussion about violating orders. But tonight, 12 SEALs were alive, telling stories about the ghost sniper who saved them. And that was all that mattered. 3 weeks later, Nan stood in a classified briefing room with Morrison and his SEAL team, planning their next operation. The official request came through. She was now permanently attached to SEAL Team 7 as their designated sniper for all operations in the sector, intelligence indicates. Enemy forces have completely abandoned the northern jungle sector, the operations officer explained, pointing at the map. After losing 43 fighters to an invisible sniper, they've declared the entire area cursed. They're telling stories about a ghost warrior who kills from the sky. Morrison looked at Nan with a slight smile. Psychological warfare at its finest. We didn't just win a tactical engagement. We won an entire sector without firing another shot. Webb leaned forward. The enemy is so terrified of operating in that jungle that they've pulled back 15 kilometers. That's given us complete freedom of movement in an area that was previously contested. All because of one engagement. Hansen added, 43 enemies eliminated, and now thousands of square kilometers are effectively denied to hostile forces. That's strategic impact from a single tactical action. Martinez grinned. And every enemy fighter in this region now checks the trees before they move. They know the ghost is out there somewhere. After the briefing ended, Morrison pulled Non aside. You know what the most important thing you did that day was? It wasn't the 43 kills, though that's impressive. It wasn't even saving 12 SEALs, though we're grateful. It was showing that one person with the right skills in the right place making the right decision can change everything. I was just in the right place at the right time, sir? No, you were in the right place because you'd been preparing for days. You were ready because you'd trained for years. And when the moment came, you made the hard choice to violate orders and trust. Your judgment? That's not luck. That's being a professional that night. As Non prepared her equipment for the next mission, she reflected on Morrison's words. The most important shot is the one you're willing to take when it matters most. Not the longest range, not the most difficult conditions, just the one that saves lives when everyone else says it's impossible. She'd taken 43 of those shots, and she'd take 43 more tomorrow if that's what it took to bring Americans home alive.